Hi, it's Sylvester, and I wanted to talk about Chip Chan because I feel like I can relate a lot to Chip Chan's story, and also because I have just been generally quite intrigued by Chip Chan ever since finding out about her. And if you don't know who Chip Chan is, I will explain that because I actually did do a little bit of research for this video, and in doing so, I found out that either her Wikipedia page is wrong or the way I heard the story was wrong because just going off of her Wikipedia page, that's not necessarily the version of the story that I heard. The version of the story that I heard basically is that there was this woman who would live stream herself while she slept. And for a while, people didn't notice that this was happening. And then eventually it kind of went viral, I think, on 4chan, hence why they called her Chip Chan, because Chan, I mean, I know Chan is a popular suffix, but, I'm pretty sure this originated, she became popular on 4chan, even though, again, the Wikipedia page does not confirm this. I could have done more research before filming this video, but I put very little effort into my videos, so I did not do that. Again, this is just the version of the story that I heard. She was discovered on 4chan, and she would have these signs up behind her as she slept. So people quickly realized there was something more going on than just a strange woman who decided to film herself while she slept for some kind of fetish reasons. It seemed like this woman thought that she was in some kind of distress. The signs were all in Korean because she's a South Korean woman. And so I have seen pictures of the signs. I've seen pictures of her sleeping with the signs behind her, but I could never read what the signs said. And as far as I could find out, the signs said things like, "I am part of a secret experiment and I am being followed, people are after me," like stuff like that. And so people realized that, again, something deeper was happening with this woman. And then she started posting on her Wikipedia page. It says that she posted on multiple blogs, but my version of the story, the version I heard, was that she started posting on 4chan and she started telling people her story. And to this day, people know relatively little about her, like who she actually is, what her real name is, how old she is. Like, people don't really know her story. But what she said is that she believed there was a chip implanted in her foot, and this was a mind control chip, and she was being mind controlled. She didn't specify who was behind it. She didn't say whether she thought it was the Korean government that was doing this or some kind of secret organization. Like, she didn't really specify, as far as I'm aware. She didn't give a lot of details, but she said that she thought there was a chip in her foot, and she had to live stream herself sleeping in case the man who was stalking her entered her apartment without her knowledge, because then there would be people witnessing that this man broke into her apartment. Now, I'm not sure how she would know, because if this mind, like, she thought the mind control chip, he could, like, the man who was controlling her could control her sleep, and so I'm assuming that meant that she thought that he could make her fall asleep, and so he could enter her apartment and do whatever, and she wouldn't be aware because she wouldn't wake up. And so was she planning on going back and watching the live streams after the fact every single time she slept? Did she go back and watch the live streams herself? Because if not, it seems kind of stupid for, like, other people to be watching her sleep, but, like, those people are not going to be able to give her immediate feedback and let her know, like, "Hey, by the way, someone broke into your apartment while you were asleep." So again, was her plan to record herself sleeping live on the internet and then go back and watch it? Because that would take so much work if every single time you slept, you had to go back and watch, like, 8 hours of footage, probably on, like, 5 times speed, just to make sure nobody went into your apartment. But anyways, it also doesn't make, well, I'm picking apart her story. It also doesn't make sense for the chip to be in her foot. Like, I am somebody who suffered with psychosis. That's part of the reason why, I really related a lot to Chip Chan. And when I was experiencing my psychosis, I looked at Chip Chan as, like, evidence that this sort of thing was actually happening in the world and that I wasn't the only victim, because I thought that I was being mind controlled, and I thought that there was a chip in me, and I thought that the chip was in my brain, because that makes sense, right? A mind control chip would probably be in your brain, but for some reason she thought it was in her foot. And so I'm not really sure what the logic is behind that. The foot is literally the farthest body part from your head, so I find it hard to believe that a chip in your foot would really have that much effect on your brain. But then again, I don't really understand how mind control chips work, so and as far as I'm aware, mind control chips don't exist, so they don't work. So I think Elon Musk is trying to develop something similar to that, but as far as I'm aware, mind control chips don't actually exist at this current moment. So, but if they did, I don't see how one could be implanted in your foot and that would affect your brain. Again, I have questions about this whole situation. Anyways, she claimed that she was being stalked by a former police officer who just went by P, like the letter P, or Agent P, I've also read. And she thought that he was after her money, and many people have speculated, they think that she is some kind of rich kid, that her parents must have died or abandoned her, they're not in her life anymore, but she has some kind of large inheritance, or she was a rich kid who just has a lot of money, because otherwise people can't really make sense of how she would be making ends meet, because according to her, she rarely left her house and she was constantly in her apartment hiding from Agent P, and so it didn't seem like she had a job. So people think that she just had a large amount of money from her parents or from an inheritance or something, and she was scared that this man was after it. Although I don't think it's necessarily true that she had a lot of money. I think maybe it's possible that she was like me and was living off the government. I don't know what disability support is like in Korea, but if it's anything like it is in Ontario, then she might have been disabled in some way, and she might have been living off the government, and then she wouldn't have a lot of money. But even though you don't have a lot of money, you can still be scared that people might try to take your money. I feel like, especially if you don't have a lot of money, it would be even scarier to think that somebody might be after your money, because again, you don't have a whole lot of it, and you really need what you do have. And from the pictures I've seen of her living space, it didn't really look like a place where a rich person would live. But again, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's necessarily true that she was some rich kid. It's entirely possible that she was not rich, but or maybe she did have money from her parents, but it really wasn't that much. It was just kind of enough to get by. And even still, it doesn't, just because she was scared that people were after her money doesn't necessarily mean that she had a ton of money. But anyways, people quickly started to sympathize with her and were very kind to her and just calmly and gently encouraged that she go get mental health help. I'm kidding. Obviously not. This is the internet we're talking about. There's a person with what appears to be a severe mental illness on the internet. Of course people weren't sympathetic. Of course people weren't kind and compassionate and calm. People were really, really mean. Really, really mean. And people would troll her and be like, oh, I think Agent P was in your apartment last night, and they'd be like, I'm part of, I have a chip too, and they just troll her, and they would just be really awful to her and say really mean things to her, and just the way she was treated was very discouraging to me, because again, I'm somebody who experienced extreme psychosis. I thought that I was being mind controlled. I thought there was a chip in my brain. I thought that people were after me and that I was being stalked and followed. And so I know firsthand that when you're experiencing extreme psychosis, people trolling you, not helpful. People being mean to you and calling you names, not helpful. People just yelling at you to get help, not helpful. Just what you really need is, well, first of all, you need some mental health help, but what you also need is just generally a little bit of compassion, because you are experiencing something that is really terrifying. Like, I wasn't being mind controlled, and I wasn't being stalked and hunted down by a secret organization. None of that was actually happening, but I sure as hell thought it was, and it was terrifying, and it just added insult to injury that nobody seemed to have any compassion for the situation. Nobody seemed, I mean, that's not true. There were some people who were compassionate, but most people did not seem to give a rat's ass that I was terrified and in pain. Most people just wanted to make fun of me, or just say that I was an idiot, and like just be generally kind of assholes. And so I stuck up for Chip Chan while I was experiencing my psychosis, because again, seeing what she was going through made me feel like what I was going through was real, and it made me think maybe there are people getting chips implanted in them without their consent. Maybe people are being hunted down by some kind of secret society, and this is happening all over the world, and Chip Chan and I are the only ones brave enough to take our story to the internet, and to speak up about it, because we know how crazy we sound, but we have the balls to speak about it, even though we know people are going to make fun of us and call us crazy. And, so I really respected the hell out of Chip Chan, and I was scared for her because I thought she was going through what I thought I was going through. And so it was this whole thing where, yeah, I really related to her. And the thing is, she kept this up. She continued filming herself sleeping and just generally being on the internet, posting updates about how she thought she was being stalked and how she thought people were after her for over a decade. My understanding is that it was something like 13 years that she spent thinking that people were after her and thinking that she was being mind controlled. And so I was psychotic for around 4 years, from the end of 2019 up until 2024, the beginning of 2024. So what is that? 2021, 22, 23, yeah, so like a little over 4 years. And so, sorry, it's embarrassing that I had to count that on my fingers. I'm bad at math, all right? I'm really, really bad at math. But that's not the point. The point is, I only experienced extreme psychosis for a little over 4 years. Chip Chan, she's been experiencing this, and like, she kind of disappeared, to my knowledge, somewhere in the 2020s. She kind of just vanished off the internet, and this was around the time when I was having my psychotic breakdown, and so I took that as meaning that she was finally captured and taken care of, like somebody finally got to her. That was my assumption. So I was really scared for her, and was scared that would ultimately happen to me. But she did go through this, what appears to be a psychotic breakdown, unless she actually did happen to have a chip in her, which I'm saying very confidently is not the case. But I guess, there's a possibility that what she was saying was true, but it seems like, and most people assume, that she was just experiencing psychosis, and a lot of people assume that she was probably schizophrenic, and again, she experienced this for over a decade. So compared to the 4 years that I spent being psychotic, it makes those 4 years look like nothing. Looks like child's play, And so I have a lot of sympathy for her, because I know how horrible and traumatizing and just terrifying and lonely it can feel to think that this sort of stuff is happening to you. And so to think that she has been going through this and being openly mocked by the internet the entire time for over a decade makes my heart hurt, honestly. But now that I've explained my version of what I think Chip Chan is, let me read the very short Wikipedia article. Chip Chan is a Korean woman whose age is unknown. Again, not much is known about her, and I do find that weird, because this is the internet we're talking about. And again, over a decade, people have been trying to figure out what her name is, what her age is, who she is, what's her story, and the fact that people have not been able to figure that out kind of, it does make the conspiracy part of my brain light up a little bit and think like, I don't know. Maybe she's not even a real person. Maybe this was some kind of publicity stunt or some kind of hoax, some kind of very elaborate hoax. But I don't think it was, because again, a decade is a long time to keep a hoax up, and a lot of effort and time went into this if it did happen to be a hoax. So I don't think that's true, but I just do find it very weird that we still know almost nothing about this woman. She lived in an apartment since at least 2008. She is constantly filmed by 3 webcams that broadcast continuously on the internet. See, that is something I did not know. I was only aware that she would record her, or she would go live when she slept. She would live stream herself as she slept. I did not know that there were apparently 3 webcams broadcasting her all the time, and I don't know if that is entirely true. I don't know how accurate this Wikipedia article is, so I don't know. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. A large online community follows her existence, alerting each other whenever Chip Chan does something. She sometimes communicates by writing on signs. She is also very prolific, writing about 30 blogs. So again, I thought she was just posting on 4chan, but apparently she had about 30 blogs, according to, again, Wikipedia, which I'm not entirely sure how accurate this information is. The explanation given by Chip Chan is that she has been held captive since 1999. I don't know if that's true either, but like, to think 1999, this woman thought she was being held captive since 1999 up until the 2020s. That is insane. I can't imagine the pain that she must have gone through. Like, it's just horrible. Anyways, she's been held captive since 1999 by a retired police officer named P. She rarely leaves the apartment, the location of which was identified thanks to photos of the exterior that she published. Shortly after being located, she moved out. That is something I didn't know. I didn't know that people tracked down where she lived. And if you found where she lived, why couldn't you find out anything else about her? Like, again, something here's not adding up. And again, it's probably just my conspiracy brain. I'm just hardwired to think conspiratorially. But I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, she is said to have studied in Canada, and her parents died in an accident, leaving her with a large inheritance. So that's what she is said. Like, this is something that people have just kind of made up. Why did people assume that she studied in Canada? I don't know. As far as I know, she didn't speak any English, so that's not the reason why people thought that she studied in Canada. Like, why did people think she studied in Canada? I don't know. That's just what the conclusion that people apparently came to. And again, people concluded that her parents died in an accident, leaving her with a large inheritance. P was holding her captive so that he could benefit from her inheritance. She talks about mind control weapons. P allegedly implanted RFID chips in her to control her mind. And the whole RFID chips, plural, that's something that's new to me as well, because I only heard about the one that she thought was in her foot. And at one point, she tried to get the chip out of her foot. So, content warning, self-harm. She would post, as far as I'm aware, again, this isn't on the Wikipedia article, so I don't know how true this is. This might just be rumors spread on the internet. But I heard that she was posting pictures of her foot all like cut up and bloodied because she had been digging into her foot trying to get the chip out of her. So, again, imagine being that mentally ill that you are digging into your own foot trying to find a chip in there. It's horrible. What happened to this woman is just horrible. Chip Chan is a Christian and sees RFID chips as the mark of the beast. Again, that's something that I've never heard either. I did not know that her religion played any kind of part in the psychosis that she seemingly experienced. The underlying reasons for this way of life have given rise to several hypotheses among the members of this community. Hikikomori phenomenon, or psychiatric hypothesis, such as schizophrenia, paranoia, etc. So, hikikomori, probably saying that wrong, hikikomori is a Japanese word designating a psychosocial and family state mainly concerning men who live cut off from the world and from others, cloistered most often in their room for several months, even several years, and only going out to satisfy the imperatives of bodily needs. And then the last thing that this Wikipedia article says is that Chip Chan stopped appearing in March of 2020. So right as the pandemic hit, conspiracy? Did her disappearance have something to do with COVID? Did the government get rid of her when they decided to enact the pandemic? I'm kidding. I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about stuff like that. But that's just my dark sense of humor. I don't think that her disappearance has anything to do with COVID. I think it is probably just a coincidence. But yeah, she apparently is just gone. She's just gone, and nobody knows anything about her. And it's just absolutely one of the craziest things I have ever heard in my entire life. And I really hope that she's doing okay. I really hope that she has gotten the help that she needs. I don't know what mental health care in Korea is like, but I hope that it is good. And, I hope that she's able to access the mental health care that she desperately needs because, yeah, since 1999, that is absolutely insane. Anyways, I've been making this video for too long. I just gotta say, let's be nice to Chip Chan. It is not her fault that she is psychotic, and yes, it is her fault that she has not gotten help for it, seemingly, but you don't have to be an asshole to somebody who is suffering. You really don't. It's really not that hard, it's really not. So just be nice to people who are mentally ill, all right? No matter how insane you think they are, to them, it makes perfect sense. And to them, it is very real. And so you should have given her some kindness. She was going through a freaking lot, Anyways, whatever. Whatever. That's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.